What's going on, guys? It's Suk and I am back with a brand new video on SuperDuprTech. Now in today's video I shall be showing you what it's like to play games on the brand new 2020 13-inch MacBook Pro. Now the specs for the model that I am using will be left down below in the video description. It is also worth mentioning that this is not the model with the 10th generation Intel processor. I will have that and the maximum spec model on the channel very soon. Also stay tuned to the very end of this video to see if there are any differences between playing on Windows 10 via bootcamp or straight through macOS. Finally, we are also on the road to 5,000 subscribers, and if you are new around here, then I must ask you to hit the subscribe button, clicking the bell to be notified of when I upload any of my new videos. Without any further ado, let's hit the titles. So first up, let's talk about gaming on this machine with Windows 10. Now the games that I played here were GTA 5, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Fortnite, Battlefield 5, Apex Legends, Minecraft, CSGO and League of Legends. So I tested these games all at high graphical settings, and starting off with this MacBook Pro's native resolution of 2560 by 1600, you can see that, as you would expect for a machine without a GPU, that the frame rates were very poor. So poor in fact that I wasn't even able to play Battlefield 5 at this resolution, which is quite weird as I've been able to do so on the previous generation. I also tried everything from re-downloading the game, Origin, and even deleting the Windows partition and reboot camping the machine again, and for some reason I could not get the game to run at that resolution. League of Legends by far performed the best here, averaging over 80 frames per second, while Apex Legends, GTA 5 and Fortnite were the three worst performing games, which could not even eclipse an average of 20 frames per second. CSGO and Call of Duty Black Ops 4 performed very similarly at this resolution, with on average only 1 frame separating them, which is a trend that you'll see throughout the rest of this video. With such low frame rates, most of which were barely playable, I chose to lower the resolution to Full HD at this 16:10 aspect ratio of 1920 by 1200. At this resolution, Minecraft had an average frame rate of 55 frames per second, while League of Legends had an average increase of 20 additional frames per second, increasing from 81 to 101 frames per second. You have to remember that due to the refresh rate of the display being capped to 60 Hz, that you actually won't see anything above 60 frames per second. Also, at this resolution there was pretty much no change in the frame rates that we saw when playing Fortnite, with this game still averaging less than 20 frames per second. Battlefield 5 finally ran at this resolution, giving us an average frame rate of 13 frames per second, which is quite bad all things considered. Yes, you could get better frame rates on a gaming laptop half the price of this machine, but you've got to remember that this machine is not designed to play any of these titles, or any games for that matter, unless they're Apple Arcade games. Black Ops 4 and CSGO continued their trend of performing very similarly, with a difference on average of 4 frames between the two titles. Finally, I lowered the resolution down to standard HD at this 16:10 aspect ratio, with a resolution of 1280 by 800. Things here were slightly interesting. Firstly, Battlefield 5 has now stunned us with an amazing frame rate of 18 frames per second, which is quite laughable, but considering that we got an average frame rate of 40 frames per second on the 16-inch MacBook Pro from last year, which has a dedicated graphics card, it isn't too half bad all things considered. Minecraft averaged over 60 frames per second with peaks over 80. League of Legends averaged over 134 frames per second too. So yes, if you are looking to play Minecraft or LOL, then you could quite possibly do so with this machine, though of course you are going to have to boot camp the machine, run Windows 10 and lower the resolution of the games that you're looking to play. Once again, Black Ops 4 and CSGO performed almost identical, with a mere 4 frames separating them on average, though CSGO had the maximum peaks almost hitting around 60 frames per second. Games like GTA 5, Apex Legends and Fortnite performed equally equally as poor, with neither of these games eclipsing an average of 20 frames per second. Now the majority of these heavier graphically intense games are only available on Windows as they utilize the DirectX graphics capabilities, whereas on macOS it's Metal. With that being said, the selection of games has now changed. We now have Fortnite, CSGO, League of Legends and Minecraft. The same again here, starting with the native resolution and high settings. Now this sees League of Legends with the highest frame rate on average with 52 frames per second. At this resolution it was surprisingly playable, which is something you don't normally hear me saying. Also at this resolution Minecraft came in close to an average at almost 60 frames per second, which is great to see. Lowering the resolution as we did before sees Minecraft now average over 75 frames per second. LOL once again at this resolution was quite enjoyable, with it now averaging just like Minecraft above 70 frames per second. CSGO was improving throughout, coming in with over 50 frames per second while playing at 1280 by 800, which is an additional 10 frames on top of what we saw while playing the same game on the same hardware on Windows 10. But perhaps the biggest shock throughout this was Fortnite, which on this hardware, regardless of if it was played on macOS or Windows, was one of the worst performing games. While playing on Windows 10, we saw an average frame rate consistently stick at around 18 frames per second, regardless of the resolution that it was played at, whereas on macOS it stuck at around 7 frames per second until the resolution was lowered to 1280 by 800, and even then it only improved to 15 frames per second, which is still lower than the 18 that we saw on Windows 10. It's quite interesting to see that you could play games on macOS and get frame rates similar to, and in most cases exceed, what you would on Windows, but the sheer amount of different games that you have access to on Windows 10 is vastly superior. I still stand by it that if you are looking to play games, that Windows is still going to be the better platform that you want. That is unless Apple want to ever support Nvidia's drivers or bring a higher refresh rate display to their machines. They've done it for the iPad, and soon, as rumours are pointing, they may be doing it for the iPhone. I'm just wondering and waiting for the day that it makes its arrival on macOS. If it's purely for gaming, then as most of you already know, do not buy a MacBook unless it's a 16-inch model, but even then you'd be able to get so much more for your money with a dedicated gaming laptop for over £2,000. So there you have it. Yes, technically you can play games on a MacBook Pro regardless of if it's on Windows 10 or if you're playing natively through macOS. And of course, as shown in this video, your mileage is going to vary depending on the game that you're playing. But just don't get too excited when you're looking at playing AAA titles on a machine that doesn't have a graphics card. So there we have it. That has been it for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to hit the like button, and if you are new around here, then be sure to subscribe clicking the bell icon to be notified of when I upload any of my future videos. If you have got any questions with anything you've seen in this video, then be sure to leave them down below in the comment section, or alternatively you can hit me up on my social media, links to which can of course always be found down below in the description. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.